Do you have what it takes to fly solo? I've got a fun quote for you. I'm not just a businessman, I'm a businessman. This quote comes from the rapper Jay-Z. And Jay-Z has said more with that one comma than most rappers would say in an entire album. And this quote cuts deep to this week's topic of being a freelance designer. Because Jay-Z is more than just a rapper. He dabbles in his own clothing brand, he dabbles in technology, he's a philanthropist, and he's an entrepreneur. And throughout all of this, he doesn't just see himself as a business person who works in a variety of industries. Instead, Jay-Z sees himself as his own brand, his own business, and he conducts himself accordingly. He's a business that has a target audience. He's a business that has a product that has to be sold. He's a business that has to grow and change as the industry grows and changes as well. And the same has to be true for you as a graphic designer. And it's especially true if you want to be a freelance designer. You can no longer think of yourself as just a graphic design person. You have to start thinking of yourself as a graphic design business. And so that's what this week's topic is about. Do you have what it takes to be a freelance graphic designer? Now, as a student, you may already have some experience working as a freelancer. You've found your own clients, done a few projects on your own. But being a full-time freelance designer can be more of a challenge, and I don't recommend doing it immediately after graduation. Instead, my best advice is to find a company that you can work for and gain some experience working in-house or working closely with a graphic design team. Doing this will give you lots of valuable knowledge on how to deal with clients, good questions to ask, good habits to get into, and also things like working with printers or working outside of your industry in a variety of different fields. Once you get comfortable working as a graphic designer and you start to want to set your own hours and set your own pace, then you can start easing into the field of being a freelance graphic designer. So there's a lot of pros and cons to working in freelance design. You can set your own hours, choose your own projects and clients you want to work for. You can set your own prices. With today's technology, you can work just about anywhere, from home or even a coffee shop. And even a lot of in-house and full-time designers will work freelance on the side to supplement their income. But as you work as a freelance designer, you need to be thinking of yourself as a business. And along with that, there comes a lot of responsibility and overhead that's placed on your shoulders. So as you're reading through the chapters for this week, be thinking about what does it take to run your own business? And do you have the drive to be able to do that? You may not have it right now, but over time, you may find yourself wanting to start your own business and work freelance on your own. So for this video, I want to give you some tips on how to talk about yourself as a graphic designer. And these are the kind of things that will come in handy whether you're working as a freelance designer or running your own business or even working for others. Because so often when people ask you, what do you do? Just answering, well, I'm a graphic designer isn't enough. We want to be able to cut to the heart of exactly what kind of benefit you're providing for people. And so being able to explain this is a good, healthy start to thinking of yourself as a business. My first tip to answering the question of what you do is to never label yourself. Simply calling yourself a graphic designer or a web designer is way too open to interpretation. Instead, you need to develop a short, simple sentence, a little blurb that you can memorize that explains in detail who you help and the kinds of things that you do. So let's break that down. Who are you as a graphic designer? What kind of work do you do? Do you design annual reports? Do you do marketing? Do you do social media? What about animation or web design? All of those are detailed things that you could easily add to your short, simple blurb. Then think about who do you do work for? This is who's your industry. Do you work for small businesses, a private corporation, a certain industry like maybe farming or nonprofits? And then think about the kind of benefit that your clients get from you. You help them reach new clients, sell their products, and grow their brand. All of that comes together to describe who you are. Now, my next tip, as you start to think about developing this short narrative blurb of yourself, think about who you're going to be explaining this to. Because very often the way you describe yourself is going to be different depending on who you're talking to. If I'm explaining what I do to my mom, I'm not going to use some of the same terms as I would use to somebody who's working in the graphic design industry. So you want to tailor your blurb to meet the needs of whoever your audience is that you're addressing the question to. So for example, let's say you are a t-shirt designer. This is something that I did when I was a student in college. And if my mom asked me, what do I do? I want to be able to use simple terms that she could understand. So I would say something like, I design t-shirt graphics and I get them ready for screen printing at a local printer. That's it. That's all she needs to know. But if I'm talking to somebody who's an industry professional, I want to go a little bit beyond that and start to use some higher level terms. For them, I would say something like, I work in specialty advertising, specializing in screen printing graphics on t-shirts. That's the kind of thing that would appeal to a higher level business. By having both of those blurbs ready to talk about, I can talk to a variety of different people and essentially tell them exactly the same thing. The main thing is I'm focusing on what I do, the industry that I'm helping, and how I'm helping them out. Thinking of yourself as a freelance designer means thinking of yourself as a business.